what was that old life that I was living? What was the point of all of that?
For me, and maybe for you, Em, too, because we've had this lifelong engagement with it, it's been a trial and error process throughout life. It's not been just like, here you go, trust all this stuff, and
exactly. It's been a process.
It's been a long process.
We were always empowered to integrate more of who we are and embody more of who we are, because that is the warrior. That is the one that can continue to move forward, continue to integrate more, and continue to shine in this world, because that's why we're here ultimately.
The process goes from listening with our ears and seeing with our eyes to this full body listening and this full body seeing. So that's how you receive the messages. That's what you listen to. It becomes a cellular experience, a bioenergetic experience.
Hi guys.
Hi.
Hi.
My wonderful, we call it the EBZU group. That's my first initial, Beth's first initial, and then Zoo from Zuzanna, EBZU group. We've called ourselves by a variety of names and labels since we've met each other and been in discussion. But I've kind of settled on evolving experiencers. It really does, I feel, it describes my path, my journey, and I see that very much in your own journeys of what you share, that it's a constant adaptation and integration. It wasn't just a static experience like, oh, holy shit, what was that? Oh, well, back to life. It just never worked that way for me. So we're meeting now at the end of 2024. It's very open for whatever wants to bubble up and through, but basically we're meeting, and we're kind of, if we want to do some review of how far we've come since we met each other in 2020. And when did we meet, Beth?
I think it was 21 when I joined in.
21, okay.
Yeah.
And your name at the time was Liz,
Liz,
just in case people are going to look at the videos. And I've pretty much switched over to M because it's just easier. And the more...
Oh, I didn't know that. I've been calling you Eileen for 4 years.
It's fine. And people just call me whatever they want. It's just that I call myself M now.
Oh, okay.
It's basically my initials, and it's also something that has come through the transmissions for me. Basically, the larger me that I'm growing into, right?
Well, that'll be another hurdle to remember that for me.
No hurdles. No hurdles. Either way, I don't jump on anybody. If whatever you want to call me is fine. Anyway, I just want to also say that Zuzanna is off camera right now because she's kind of feeling under the weather, but I'm just kind of hoping that as we connect, she'll get that rush of energy and healing.
Yeah, my vitamins, my spiritual vitamins.
Yeah. So I don't want to push you, but I'm just really happy that we're all together. Yeah. So here we are at the beginning. Soon, very close, is 2025. And I just want to say that I'm so concerned that I'm going to be heavy today. And I just
be heavy.
I just want to overemphasize that. I mean, no way I'm going to try and make things pretty for what I'm feeling and seeing, right? And I'm kind of known for that. That's why people run from me, because
the point is to be honest and truthful, and that's I wouldn't be here otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, it's really it's not to disempower, absolutely not. It's to empower us, that we don't have to fall for for the trickery, you know, the manipulation that we're gonna and the disinformation, misinformation. A lot of this is just going to amplify like crazy. I just wanted to start with that I want to make sure that I overemphasize that we were always empowered to integrate more of who we are and embody more of who we are, because that is the warrior. That is the one that can continue to move forward, continue to integrate more, and continue to shine in this world, because that's why we're here ultimately. So,
Yeah.
I also think
it's a messy business.
yeah.
I was
Go
just
ahead.
going to say, I think it's worth mentioning also that being heavy and mentioning the heavy stuff is part of this whole process. You know, we are looking at both the light and the dark, for want of a better way of determining that. But the heaviness is part of our experience here on Earth, and it's part of being human, and it's part of what's going on here. So there is literally no point in shying away from it and not talking about it and just being the light and love. You have to include the whole shebang, the whole experience. And this is then how we expand, because you're taking everything in and you're integrating it. You're not being overwhelmed by the darkness. You're actually transmuting that through our own light that's shining through. So I think it's a really important part of the puzzle to talk about.
100%. I'm right there with you.
And especially because we three get to check in with each other regularly, and we find that we're all experiencing very similar stuff. So it's not like we're, you know, depressed old women. You know,
I am the furthest from depression. I celebrate every day when I realize back in the 90s, before I attempted suicide, that was depression, right?
Right. We know what depression is, so yeah.
We do know what depression is.
We know of what we speak.
And this is also the really funny thing, because this is something that's come up for me recently as well in the last few weeks. It's like, in part of my dialoguing sessions, you know, I've mentioned numerous times, you know, I am not depressed. Yes, I'm feeling all this heavy stuff. Yes, I'm observant of everything that's going on, but I do not, absolutely 100%, I do not feel depressed.
Yeah.
And there's such a big difference.
There's a big
Huge difference.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm glad that you're emphasizing
We've been
that.
taught in our culture, and especially the New Age section of it, to only focus on, you know, the positive unicorns and rainbows and stuff like that, you know, and it's taken me quite a while to get out of the concept that if I'm not focused on unicorns and rainbows, then I'm being bad, you know, that something's wrong with me. And, you know, it's a silly conundrum to have to deal with, but there you go.
Yeah, so I wanted to remember last time we talked, I shared I hope this isn't the same image, but because you were just talking about it, right?
Right.
You know, I know that there is this potential and the possibilities, but I cannot overemphasize, you know, you don't just magically walk into this.
Right.
We engage our will to co-create this, and that's a commitment. That's true spiritual growth. You know, when you're dealing with you're not running from the demons. You're looking straight at them, right?
Yeah. But for me, this is the whole point of this process as well, right? Is to become absolutely 100% conscious in every single thing we say, every single thing we think, everything we do. Is all about becoming aware and conscious about the choices that we're making in that moment. So in order to do that, you have to become aware of everything, so that you are aware of which choice you're making. Are you making the choice that's perhaps a more negative choice, or are you making a more positive choice towards the light? So this for me is all the whole exact point of going through this process, this evolution in consciousness.
Yeah.
What choices are you making in every single moment of your life?
Right.
Very good. Yeah.
So this just popped into my head. Why why do you feel sitting at this before the dawn of 2025 on the calendar system? Why did you have the experiences you did? Why are you here? Why are we still here? You know?
I mean, I laugh at that so much because this literal exact question has come up for me in the last 2 days.
And that's why I'm asking it, because every morning I'm like, why am I still here? What good am I doing if I'm just shouting at the wind? It's like I'm trying to reach people to tell them you have magic inside of you. You can unlock it and you can explode into this wholeness again. And you're just, I know that I wish I could draw or do animation, because, we could do some funny stuff with that. The way it feels to be an evolving experiencer, or just somebody, I don't care what you call yourself. If you're engaged and you're growing and you're expanding and your eyes are open and your ears are open and you're seeing everything, you're seeing this whole crazy world that everybody's agreeing to because they can't see and hear. So then you constantly are saying, why am I still here?
Yeah.
I have no effect. I have no effect on anyone.
Yep, I had exactly the same
That's not
thing.
true, because I'm here. Your effect is
Yes.
it's palpable right here with the both of us.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Yes, and you're right. That is, it isn't that isn't enough. This is joy. This is pure joy here.
Meeting you was literally a lifesaver for me, and probably Beth feels that way too.
Yep.
Well, and
Absolutely.
feelings are mutual, we activate with each other, we grow with each other, we inform each other, we share pieces of data that, we can't, each of us individually can't know and see all.
Right.
We have our gifts.
Yeah, we have our areas of expertise, which is really
Yes.
fun when we compare notes, because
So
that's real
true.
obvious. And then after we've compared notes and we have this huger panorama of what's going on, plus validation that we're still not crazy, and that's just so awesome.
It is. And even like last time we talked, which was, I don't know how long ago, last month, it was a few weeks back. I end up being so high and vibrating after we talk each time. It's like you guys expand me and I feel pure joy and I feel like I belong, just because of you guys. So thank you for bringing that up. I didn't mean to, sidestep that or omit that in any way. I'm just like, I know one of my jobs on the planet, my mission is to bring people like us together so that we can keep reinforcing each other as we navigate into or restoring our natural state. And,
Well, I wasn't coming from a place of what am I, chopped liver, I was coming from a place of like, really give yourself a pat on the back because here's 2 souls that you saved.
Yes.
Well, that sounds a bit extreme, but yes, I understand what you're
Well,
saying.
you know what I mean. You know the feeling of what
I
it feels like.
do.
Feel like your soul's been saved when you meet somebody that goes, oh yeah, I've had that experience, and it's just like, oh my God.
Yeah, like what?
So valuable.
Beth, you were going to say something before. Do you still have it?
Yeah, I think it was just picking up on what you said a minute ago. It's like being here in this moment, and the last couple of days, what's been coming to me is this complete and utter awareness of being in this new world, this new energy, this new awareness, and the old now just feeling so odd and so weird, and like I can't, it's still happening around me, but I don't have any emotional connection to it. And when I'm in the space of the new world, then I also feel pretty distant from it, like it was something that happened, let's say 20 odd years ago, but it's still, it's still happening around me. So that kind of weird juxtaposition just feels really weird right now, and really it just makes me feel really odd to be walking around knowing that I'm in an old framework, but not feeling of or in the old framework, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's why I say I'm, and so therefore that leads me then to question, one question that's come up several times for me in the last 2 days has been, what was that old life that I was living? What was the point of all of that?
That's
I
a great question.
I just don't get the whole point of what that life was about
Yeah.
from this perspective.
Well,
I
I do have a response to that because,
Mhm.
of course, I've been reflecting about these things just as you have.
Mm.
And again, Zuzanna and I are, more of the old timers over the lifespan, having these experiences. So there are differences, not one better than the other, for sure. But my inner knowing and what has come through the messages, the transmissions I've brought through over the years, is that we come here with the intent of having, this isn't the first time, come here to be born and be a human, live the human life, experience all things human. And then in some cases, we have our helpers come in at designated times to say, wake up, it's time,
Yep.
right? And then it is our own process of coming back online and adjusting to it, going through all, and Beth, you've had an accelerated version of this. Susan and I have done it over decades. And it's basically so we have the full experiential references for how this is done.
And it's funny, you see, I get that, and I know that on one level, on one perspective, and I totally get it and understand why everything has happened as it has happened, and what I've done in that old framework makes total sense to where I'm at now and who I'm at now.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So I see absolutely the reason for it. So in the place and the perspective from which I'm in this moment, it's because I have no connection on one level. And I think this is the difficult thing to describe, because this is the multi-layered, multi-dimensional experience of where we're at right now. Because on one perspective, on one level, I'm not connected with that old world, but on another level, that world has come through me and is still in me. So I'm experiencing both at the same time, of being connected but not connected. And that's the only way I can really describe that. Does that make any sense?
Totally with you. Totally with you. I have similar feelings about, I just don't identify with the before world. That's why I just call it the before world.
Yeah.
I know, and this is part of navigating what's next, is I know it exists. I know it's real, and it's real for different people in different levels of real, right? I'm aware that it's real for most people. I've lost my identification with it.
Yeah.
And yet
I think that's a good way to describe it, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, and also we're in a liminal space, right? We're
Yeah.
not fully one or the other right now. And that's where the trust comes in. That's where a lot of the messages have emphasized you will want to be connected. You will want to be embodied enough and connect with your technology in this time so that you can know what's next, what to do, where to go, who to be with, these kinds of things. You'll just know, right? Especially in such a liminal, it's disorienting, right? We are reorienting right now. So they showed me the visual of going, like you're in this giant mall, a busy mall, like olden days malls. I don't know how many malls are around anymore. But you're going up the escalator, right? And you can see and observe all the people milling about and going in and out of the stores and everything. And but you're not a part of that.
Mm.
You're moving, you're expanding, you're growing, and yet you can still see the people milling about.
That's a great visual analogy,
Yeah,
Eileen. I
yeah,
love it.
yeah,
Yeah, thanks. I
yeah,
can't take credit for it, or it's kind of my expanded relations that showed me that.
Yeah.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. And that is the experience. It's, it's the, I'm observing everything that's going around
yeah.
me, what's going on, but I'm not a part of it.
Mhm.
I'm not a part of it from the reference point of the old, of the before world, but I'm very much a part of it in this new world, in this
Yeah.
new me, in this new identity of, of who I am. And that's a whole nother kind of thing we could go down. But I'm very much a part of what is going on around me within the framework of the old world, of the before world. So that's the really interesting exploration and observation as you're going through your daily life, that experience of being both the observer of it, not being in it, but being fully here and present with it. And that's what I really love, actually, is the feeling of being completely and utterly embodied and here and present,
Yes.
yet still able to navigate and interact and join in with, to a certain degree, with this before world, but I'm not joining in it from the reference point of the before world. I'm joining in it from the perspective of the new world, of very much of where I am now. So that's been, for me, that's been the recent evolution. I would say probably in the last 6 months, this
Mhm.
has begun to kind of really embed itself in me, this experience now.
Yeah, I want to bring up, or at least bookmark this, because
Yeah.
we've talked about this before, and the importance of, um, being aware in the body, the somatic experience, the feeling experience, that the markers of the before world are very different. They feel different. They're aligned with the false grid. The markers of the new are more feeling oriented. They have different sensory markers. And these are the kinds of things that I would love to be able to list or have available to people at some point. Always not locked in stone or anything, but just, hey, as a traveler, this is a marker that I have found, and I have repeatedly come back to it now. It's like, or whatever you want to call it. I've called it anchors before too, like things that expand you forward rather than contract you down. And recently I've let go of even some things that I thought I was going to do, just a month or so ago. I'm even letting go of more of the stuff I thought I was going to do to frame my work and interface with the public. And I just have to trust it, because I'm feeling the markers that are pulling me in another direction that is like basically joy. If you're not following the markers of joy, then you're probably going to be confused for a while, right? Not saying that you're going to fall back, and I'm just kind of speaking generally, not to you guys, but to people
Right, right.
that are
And
navigating.
I think that's a really good general statement too, that if you following that joy feeling, if you're still slogging around and wondering, why am I still at this stupid job, or why am I with this stupid person, or whatever, then
Right.
if everything's feeling disconnected, it's that congruence between inner and outer life that I've always been looking for in my younger days. Where's the congruence with who I am inside, who I know myself to be inside, and what's going on in the outside? And there was always this dissonance, this incongruence, and that's slowly come together. I feel like I'm much more congruent than I ever have been. And one of the things that you said am about the markers and how they're different. One of the things that's been going on for me this year is, it's not like it's news or it's new or anything else, but it's become a personal experience for me, the importance of art. And I've been immersing myself in my own personal symbol system and creating art myself for quite some time. And certainly it's been ridiculously exaggerated in this last year. And also, the other thing that has come to me on several occasions, and one of them with a bioenergetic event and dreams and things like that, is the importance of music in my life. I've had a lot of connection with music and musicians and various things in my life. However, it's changed. My awareness of it has changed. I think before I was an observer, and now I'm a participant, sort of. So for instance, in April, I had this experience, this bioenergetic experience, and realized that for each one of us, there's what I call music codes revelations. And that in music that we listen to that we really felt touched us when we were younger, it's opening up stuff in me now. And so like yesterday, I went to see the new Bob Dylan biopic, A Complete Unknown. And I've never been a rabid Bob fan. You know, I mean, I know of his existence and his music and various things, but when I was in the cinema, I cried practically through every song. And it was doing something to me. I was remembering, it was bringing up my connections with the time, which has always been really important to me, the early 60s, or the 60s generally. And it was just this like miraculous healing. It was like a miraculous healing. And today I'm under the weather and feeling ill. And that makes sense to me. That totally makes sense to me, because I was in the middle of a cinema with everybody, and I'm sobbing and sobbing. The lights go on and I'm like, oh, fuck, you know, and I have to pull myself together. I thought, okay, I'll go to the bathroom and I can have a quick weep before I get in my car there. I had to stand in line for the bathroom, right? So I'm having to keep my shit together in public, and I never am in public, you know, rarely in public. And so then today, so something just kind of like blew out through me, I think, something, and I don't know what it is. I always have lots of theories and hypotheses and all that sort of stuff, but you know, that's not, it's not here nor there until, you know, you can get a handle on it. But that particular music, it became so important, and that's happened in the past. The same thing happened like when David Bowie died. It's just like I was never a rabid David Bowie fan, but he was in my life, and his music punctuated periods in my life and everything like that. So, and it wasn't like an emotional experience. Like, he died, I lost my shit, and I'm like, who the hell is this person losing their shit over this? You know, I mean, it was bizarre. And so music has literally changed my life. Not made me happier, not made me feel good, not make me feel part of something. No, it's changed my life in ways that I cannot still now explain. So, and that's out in left field, because I'm not a musician. I've never been a musician. I'm a visual artist. And
yes, but you have worked in the music business.
Yes, I've worked in the music industry and have had beaucoup experiences with musicians, you know, either intimate or less intimate. And that's always been very interesting to me. And so what's happening this year for me is kind of like revelation after revelation. One of the things, you know, you said, why are you still here? Why do you think you're still here? So one of the reasons why I think I'm still here is because I've still got a lot to learn and I'm so excited about it. I want to learn everything, particularly about my inner technologies, because when I was younger, I knew about these things and then they went by the wayside as I drifted into trying to interface with that, the old grid or whatever you want to call it. I don't even know what I call it anymore, that out there. Um, and and now and now it's all becoming in focus. Before I had this experience of living in the world and everything was out of focus. No matter how many times I went to the opticians and got my glasses corrected, that wasn't it. It was still out of focus. It was way out of focus. And when I was silly enough to seriously make effort to try and fit in, then life went off the rails, and that was incredibly self-destructive. Those were incredibly self-destructive times. And by everybody else's standards, I mean 100% everybody else's standards around me, that's what I was supposed to be doing, is derailing myself, apparently. It's just so I could fit in and be normal. And I don't play that game anymore, and I haven't done that for, nearly 5 years now. And, it's not easy. There's times like today, oh, my rent just went up. Oh, my car insurance just went up significantly. And I'm not making any more money. So, and so then I just, I dialogue and I tap and I do whatever I do and I talk about it. And okay, I'm almost 70 and my life has always been like this and I'm still here. I'm still here. My life has always been one like, oh shit, what now? And there's never been the,
I'm so relating to this. I just keep going.
yeah. It's never evolved into the most horrible you could ever imagine. I mean, the closest it got was like 7 years ago when I became homeless, and it still wasn't like you're out of here. It still was like, this was like the best thing that ever happened to me in this next phase. It gave me courage, trust, the ability to know what I'm capable of and how to survive, and not take all of that garbage into consideration and taking on, well, I won't say only, but taking like 95% of what's going on inside of me, what's the imperative inside of me that drives me forward. So, God damn, it's no surprise to me that the arts have been taken out of high school and everywhere else for, many, many, many years now, because it's really, really important. And great artists are not prophets, like Bob Dylan was always called a prophet, and he hated that more than anything. Great artists are exquisite observers of what's going on. Mm-hmm. And then they mirror that back to society by their output, whatever that modality might be. And I am getting chills just being able to articulate that now. I never quite got it until this morning, really. After seeing that film, great artists are exquisite observers and they mirror it back because they can't not, they're artists. You have to paint, even if nobody's going to see it or only a few people are going to see it, they have to do it. I have to do it. It's just amazing. So that's why I think I'm here. I'm a behind the scenes person, which I was chuckling to myself afterwards. I've got my little photo up and you guys are live. That's just so, exemplary of the statement. I'm a behind the scenes girl, always have been. When I was younger, I had these knowings would drop into me and I had no idea what they really meant. But being behind the scenes was one of them when I was 20. And I went through the ego thing of like wanting to be, front and center and all that sort of stuff. And am very, very much accepting of and happy now, actually, very, very happy that I never was front and center, because I've been able to spend so much time on my own inner life. I was a teacher and mentor for 20 years. And I know from that experience that one's inner life cannot be fully engaged with if you're in the old paradigm, if you're totally doing that. And so I had 20 years where it was just like, I'm there for everybody else. And then it was just like, now it's time. to get back on track. You've had this thing, and basically everything I was teaching was to consolidate it in myself, and it's very, very cool because I got to get paid for understanding how, my life works. And so now I'm happy to be doing what I'm doing, which appears to be nothing to most people, and it's everything to me. It's everything to me. So that's why I'm here. That's why I know Em and I have joked on occasion that we got talked into coming here this time because of the food, because we really both love food. And, and for me now, from this year, I can add, art and then specifically music. That's what enticed me here, because whenever I see or hear great art, I just bawl my eyes out, and then I have some kind of weird experience, bioenergetic illness or whatever, where I just am, it's like a new aha. It's aha. That's part of the component. That's part of why you're here. And I'm just so thrilled to at my age, be continually learning about myself. That's thrilling to me, because I surprise myself all the time. The world surprises me, and it also not only surprises me, but in the same, however that works, I don't even know, in the same breath, it like doesn't surprise me. It's like, yeah, okay, yeah, I knew that. I knew that when I was 15. Took me a long time to get back to it, So it's a really interesting, neat time, and it's challenging because there's lots of, for me, physical problems and or issues. I won't say problems, issues, physical issues that I have to deal with, and that's part of my learning experience, because it's making me work with my inner technologies, because it could be a matter of life and death, and that's just the way it is. So that's probably an indication that I'm a hard nut to crack. So they're just like, okay, boosh, there you go, deal with this, and now you have to.
That's a really good point. Well, so many excellent points there, but that last one is,
Thank you, thank you.
yeah, it's like I think so many of us, I know that there could be more of us talking and really building and expanding on all of these, the actual experiential
Right.
of how this has gone, how our lives have gone, and what we're observing. That was really, really wonderful stuff, Zuzanna.
Thank you.
But just realizing that we've already come this far. So when you're faced with a challenge like that, and you have the tools and you have the markers, it's like, damn it, I can't just run back and
Yeah,
get small again,
right.
contract. And I don't know exactly how to, every step of moving forward and what that looks like. And I know I can't explain it to people. I do my damnedest to explain it. But this is the closest we come, is when we come together and we share, well, this is what it feels like. This is what I learned. And, so that's why we do this.
Yeah.
It was really beautiful, Zuzanna.
Thank you.
Yeah, so many amazing things in that, Zuzanna. Thank you for sharing. Like, I don't even know where to pick up on that. Sorry, did you want to say something?
I just said thank you for the platform in which to air these sorts of things. This is really, wonderful, and I continue learning, and insights come to me often as we're speaking.
Of course, yeah, and just when Beth was talking, I was like, I know what you mean, Beth, because as she's talking, it's like, oh, there's a thread I could pull.
Yeah.
There's a thread. Oh, that one too. Oh, and then I know I'm gonna forget it. So
yes, absolutely. Can I pick up on one of those threads, because it threads actually with something you said earlier as well, Em, about the now let me just try and pick up on that. Hang on. It was the knowing why we're here, and the whole point of earlier I was saying about, I was from one perspective looking at the old framework and kind of going, what was that all about? But at the other end of the spectrum, I also know exactly what it was about. And for me, it is about these markers and about being an anchor. So what has become very clear to me, probably in the last month, is the whole point of me having that before life then being interrupted many, many, many times over with many different things, was to wake me up to who I actually am here, which is ultimately an embodiment of love, and the frequencies and the space and the information that comes through from that, really to become this total anchor in this moment in time. So like you were saying, Zuzanna, it's like the behind the scenes work. And then there's something else as well. So it's the behind the it's the behind the scenes work really is where I'm, or the main purpose of me being here. Now, if anything offshoots from that,
Right.
then that's a creative act, that's a creative project. But the main point and reason for me being here right now is to be this anchor in this moment, in this time, in this geographical location, in this particular situation, is just to utterly become this anchor. And the only way that you can get to that point is through the feeling markers of everything that we have experienced. And then tying it in with something else you said as well was about the from the outside it looks like I'm doing absolutely nothing. You know, the last time I actually had a job, a paid job in the old framework, in the false grid, it's like that was 18 years ago now. 18 years I have not had a paid job. Okay. And so, you know, the kids have all grown up enough for me now to really get back to work and do some work, but I've not done that. And the whole reason for me not doing that was not a conscious choice. Oh, I need to be at home and not have the old framework to be in, because I need to be in this space of the inner work. But actually, that is what I've fallen into. I have fallen into. I've had so many intentions of getting a paid job, and you know, being this and having this project where I'm going to get some money in, and you know, and that, to be honest, is still an ongoing thing anyway. But it's like I've kind of, what's really changed and shifted in me is giving up on this whole thing of I've got to be out in the old framework with a particular job, whether that be a healer or a whatever you want to say it is, rather than thinking, oh, I've got to be in that framework and have a job with a paid job. Actually, to be totally okay and totally rest into all of the unseen work that goes on.
And then stuff starts to move, and then your team can take care of you, you know?
Exactly.
Otherwise, you're putting all these, you know, stones in a pipe and blocking it up and nothing's flowing.
Yeah. And you know, I've had many a time where I've kind of gone, well, I could just go and get a job in a cafe somewhere, you know, just to get some money coming in. And it's like there's always been this inner I'm not going to say resistance, it's not an inner resistance to it, but just not the feeling markers to guide me to go, yes, that's where I need to be.
Yeah, it's an inner knowing. I totally know that one. Yeah.
Good
job.
Yeah, I think we can all relate very much to that, because it's what we are actually navigating this, and we are actualizing. We're on the experiential level, we're modeling, okay, how do you, when you hit the wall of paradox, how is that transcended? Like, oh, I know that I live in this world because I know I'm still eating, and I do enjoy the roof over my head, and you know, these kinds of things. The job thing, it's like, oh, if you're reverting to the false grid approach, it's like, oh, I have to go do something because I need money in order to live, right? Well, yes, and there are ways that we can shift our perspective slightly if we don't go into fear and say, well, I better take this job, or I better this, or I better that. What happens is, if you just notice your body, you'll feel the contraction.
Yeah, right.
And that's the very first sign of the old marker. If it's calling you back into contraction, then there's another way to look at this, observe this, approach this, right? And so then I would, in my practice, I go into dialogue and say, hey, I recognize that I just went there and I felt the contraction. And so you're in partnership with the source field. You're saying, okay, I'm navigating now. I felt that, and I know that's not the right direction, but I'm also feeling afraid because I don't know how this works. And so I'm going to surrender now and just say, hey, I promise to move in the direction of joy and expansion. And I trust that you will show me how this works every step of the way, because I expect that, right? It's not like me going, oh, please, please,
Right, right.
please. Rather, I'm saying you'd better f***ing show me how this works, because I have made enormous sacrifices in my life to be in this position right now, and I expect it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that is not done with malice or hatred or anything. It is done with passion.
Right, passion, right.
That is my passion. And by the way, I am not a front and center person. I got pushed into it with the presence. Okay.
Yeah.
I would have rather, like I said before many times, been against the brown, the beige background of mine. I don't want to be front and center, but this presence has a way of, and I brought this up recently, I feel like I am possessed by love.
Yeah.
Instead of possessed by evil, I am possessed by love. It just wants to do this. It wants to reach people. It wants to, oh, yay, we have human beings now that have opened up enough that we can flow through them. And we can say, hey, everybody, this actually works. This, I'm demonstrating it as I go. I don't call myself a master or a guru or anything. I apply this stuff, and I notice that it works, and I notice that I keep expanding, and I notice that synchronicities happen, and I notice that this is wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to follow the guidance, or otherwise, why are you asking? If you don't follow the guidance when you ask, and then start to get into that process of trusting, to learning to trust fully and 100%, then what's the flipping point?
This is the warrior. I mean, I do not apologize for using that word. It requires huge courage.
Absolutely.
To keep choosing this, to commit to it and trust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Good job, everybody.
I was just percolating that for a minute, because I also think it's worth mentioning, just inserting there about listening to the guidance. What I also want to bring awareness to is it's not about blindly following guidance that you're receiving. Again, inserting into that process is the whole feeling markers. So if you're getting guidance, how is that feeling? Is that guidance making you feel more expanded, or is it making you feel more contracted? Because I think also sometimes when we're not or we're still learning, and I'm still in this process as well, learning to listen to the right voices, because sometimes it can get a bit muddled up depending on what's going on in your life, depending on what you're energetically receiving or sinking into. Many of us are empaths, so sometimes that does happen, that we get pulled into stuff. So again, it's learning to feel and learning to be present with what it is that you're feeling, and letting that be the navigation. So the messages come through, but how is that feeling? And it's that feeling that's going to take me through, that's going to signal to me to follow the guidance and to be in that space and to do that thing.
100%, 100%, Beth. But I also want to say that it's more like a flow, like I was just saying. It's not, oh, I just heard something. Okay, I'll do that. it's not a disconnected feeling at all. It's like, um, I know exactly what you're saying because I've had years of practicing of like, is it this? Am I hearing it right? You know, it's kind of like it's a trial and error process.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's like it hones your ego down too, but in the
Oh yeah.
process. That's just what's so brilliant about it is, the universe gets a big bang for its buck, like one little process that you're doing addresses many different things. And, you could be in the beginning, you could be getting all kinds of weird, grandiose stuff. And if you're following that guidance, and you follow the markers and see, okay, is this actually really working? Does this make me happy? Is this flowing well, blah, 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 all of that stuff, and it is for me and maybe for you, M, too, because we've had this lifelong engagement with it. It's been a trial and error process throughout life. It's not been just like, here you go, trust all this stuff, and
Exactly. It's been a process.
yeah, it's been a long process.
That's the difference, you see, because relatively speaking, I'm still pretty early on in the process. So compared to you guys, so for me, it has been this process of learning to listen properly. But then I also wanted to pick up on something also. It is this distinction between the process goes from listening with our ears and seeing with our eyes to this full body listening and this full body seeing. So that's how you receive the messages. That's what you listen to. It becomes a cellular experience, a bioenergetic experience.
It's the technology.
Yeah.
Yes, the technology. Yeah, that's a great distinction, Beth. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It has to be this full engagement rather than just like, oh, somebody showed me that I'm going to be, a great whatever or something like that, and then.
Or I was Cleopatra, so.
Yeah, right. Why bother this time? Yeah, exactly. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Yeah, good stuff. I mean, it's just, there's so many rabbit holes and diversions, and I mean, it's been one hell of a wild ride.
Which I feel is this really solidifies, the importance of these kinds of conversations, no matter where you are as an evolving experiencer. Because, people like Zuza and I, we'd be the last people to say, oh, we know better because we've been doing this for decades now. It isn't that at all.
Never get to the end.
How quickly, I mean, I am just in awe of Beth and people like Beth who can just, boom, you had your series of experiences and wow, life isn't what I thought it was. And, huge transformational experiences, one after the other. That's a lot. And that says a lot about your soul that you can come here and do it this way. Right. And I've joked about this before, Zuzanna and I have, about how, well, we're the dummies that it had to take a whole lifetime.
Right. Yeah. I often think, I don't envy Beth at all. I mean, I'm so glad it took my whole life because it was hard enough as it was.
It was hard. It was very hard.
Thank you. Yeah. I thank you for your kind words. And I mean, that it seriously does mean a lot to me because as you know, it's not an easy journey. It's not easy by any means. And there's so much transformation that takes place. It is so difficult to keep up with it. It's so difficult to keep processing these things. It's so difficult to integrate these things if it keeps on coming and coming and coming. It is a really difficult process. But I would always
want to be present, doesn't it? And people don't want to be present. They're distracted all the time.
Yeah, it does demand, and this is what I was probably trying to hint at earlier. You have to be present with this stuff because if you're not, then it doesn't work and you go back and you fall back into the before world. In order for you to grow, if you want to grow and you want to transform and you want to change and you want to expand, you have to go through the process and be present with it in every single moment. You have to.
Yeah. And they call this I was talking about it being the liminal space before. This is the razor's edge, actually. We are walking the razor's edge now. When you get more and more awareness and you start applying these things and you start walking out on that bridge this liminal bridge, it's like to just decide, screw it. I guess I am crazy. When you fall off that razor's edge, it's going to be really painful.
Yeah.
And you can feel that, right? You can feel that if you contract back and say, forget it, I'm done. Obviously, we all have free will to say those things, but you can feel it like, ooh, why would I do that? Why would I fall off the wagon, so to speak? You know?
Right.
Yeah.
And coming back to the depression thing, this is for me, what has been the definition of depression for me is falling off the natural state of who we are.
Yeah.
That is when it causes me depression. That's when I feel like I want to take my own life, because I'm not being natural. I'm not being true to who I actually am.
Exactly.
So when you're in the flow, when you're in your natural state and way of being, this is why you're not going to experience the depression. You're not going to experience that kind of heaviness.
Yeah.
Because that's the difference. That's the subtle difference.
Yeah. And I've told you guys many times before, it is this that we're doing right now that feeds me, lifts me, it energizes me. So I get inspiration from our connections. And what my network of guides has been showing me all along is this is the gift that we give to others. We have this for ourselves, and we want to extend it to others who are also expanding. I'm not interested in talking to people who have belief systems, who are attached to false grid representations of what spirituality is. I know that there are amazing works of art in all areas that exist on the false grid, that are planted there, are buried there, but they are only for us to uncover and discover and go, oh my God, I'm not alone.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I mean,
Yes. There are these little time capsule things. There are these wonderful things that can, if you are in a particular space, I think, and open to it, propel you forward even more, you know?
Yes, exactly.
And they're hiding in the false grid. They're there, you know, for
They
a
are
reason.
there. Yeah. And I'm so grateful for them.
Yeah.
But it's not about then worshiping it, you know, and then staying on the false grid. Those little gifts are there to say, hey, look, you're not alone. Keep going, because you're unique and you have gifts to give too. Keep going. Keep going.
It's an amazing, amazing path.
Yeah. It really is. And I think the hardest part for me is just the solitary, you know, in between our talks.
Yeah.
You know, nature obviously gives me that vibratory boost, that connection. I'm fed by nature. It's always a practice for me, whether I'm walking into the grocery store, getting gas or whatever. I'm here, I'm present, I'm anchoring, and you know, whatever wants to interact with me in the world, I'm here. But for the most part, it's like coming down from the escalator in the mall, it's an art metaphor, and walking into a store to get the supplies you need or whatever. But you're not actually buying into that reality, that world. Yeah. In the world, but not of it.
Right. I was just thinking that, Am. I heard that long time ago, and I thought I knew what it meant, and now I'm experiencing it.
Now we really know what it means.